When I opened my inbox that morning, I wasn't expecting a message from HR. Subject line: Notice of Internal Concern Review. At first, I thought it was spam, until I saw the signature: Elaine Hargrove, Director of Faculty Affairs. It referred to recent concerns regarding professional reliability and emotional conduct, filed anonymously. I sat frozen at my desk in the hotel lobby, the hum of the Chicago conference melting into a high-pitched buzz in my ears. What was happening? I was here presenting on literacy equity in low-income districts, for God's sake. I had prepared for this for months. How had this turned into an investigation? The email was vague, but I already knew who was behind it. Dana Wilcox, my colleague back at Lincoln High, and the only one petty enough to use my absence to pull a stunt like this. We had both been vying for the same assistant department chair promotion. I had been a step ahead until I had to leave for this conference. Or rather, until I chose to leave. And I chose to leave only because I believed Sophie would be safe. 12-year-old Sophie is the best part of me. Thoughtful, endlessly curious, always asking questions about the books we read together, or the stars, or why some people don't believe kids when they say they're hurting. After my divorce from Andrew, I raised her mostly on my own. He moved to San Diego for work, and while the child support is steady, the FaceTimes are monthly, not weekly. My parents, Howard and Miriam, live 2 hours north on a sprawling lakeside property that looks like a picture on a Christmas card. My brother Nathan, Dr. Nathan Carson, as he insists on being called, is a respected orthopedic surgeon who's also recently taking space from his wife. When I told them about the conference, Miriam insisted Sophie stay the weekend. She adores the lake, she said, and Nathan could use the distraction. I had reservations, not because they didn't love Sophie, but because love in my family has always come with a quiet ledger: expectations, judgments, conditional affections. Growing up, I was the emotional one, the underachiever, the girl who chose teaching instead of something real. Meanwhile, Nathan could sneeze and be praised for his respiratory strength. Still, I wanted Sophie to know her grandparents. I wanted to believe they were softer with her than they were with me. So, I said yes. On Friday morning, we packed together. Sophie tossed in her sketchbook, her allergy meds, and the hiking boots I'd made her promise to wear if they went on trails. As we zipped the last compartment, I felt a strange twist in my gut, like the ghost of some instinct I'd learned to ignore. "Are you sure you want to go, Peanut?" I asked. She rolled her eyes. "Mom, it's just 3 days. Grandma's already planning banana pancakes, and Grandpa said we might take the boat out." Still, I stood on the porch too long after dropping her off. The lake shimmered behind them, picture perfect. But the moment Nathan emerged from the house and wrapped Sophie in one of his booming hugs, I knew I'd lost control of the weekend. "Don't worry so much, Emily," he said. "She's in doctor-approved hands." I forced a smile. "Just remember, she's had some knee pain lately, from soccer. Ibuprofen's in her bag." Miriam brushed it off. "We raised 2 kids. One's even a doctor." I left anyway, because I had to. The first day of the conference went smoothly. My keynote session wasn't until Saturday, but Friday's panels were rich with ideas. I even made a few networking connections. But by nightfall, I found myself staring at my phone, waiting for Sophie's call. She didn't call. I tried 3 times. No answer. Finally, around 9:30 p.m., my father picked up. "She's asleep," he said. "We had a busy day getting the dock ready. Don't wake her. You'll only make her anxious." "She promised to call," I said, trying to stay calm. "Is she okay?" "She's fine. It's just a weekend. You're overreacting." His voice hadn't changed since I was 16. Distant, disapproving, final. I hung up and tried texting Sophie. Nothing delivered. Maybe the signal at the lake was bad. Maybe she really was tired. But deep down, that twist in my gut came back, sharper this time. The next morning, I checked again. Still no messages. I called. Again. Voicemail. I emailed. Silence. And that's when the email from HR came. The one accusing me of being emotionally unstable implying my family leave wasn't legitimate, and flagging concern about behavioral inconsistency. It was Dana. I knew it was Dana, but instead of rage, what I felt, chillingly, was helplessness. Because in both work and family, I was being undermined by the people who were supposed to know me best, supposed to support me. I thought about Sophie's phone, about my mother's dismissive wave, about the way Nathan had laughed off her soccer pain like it was cute, and I knew. This weekend wasn't safe. It never was. If you've ever been dismissed by the people you trusted most, especially when it mattered most. Type 1. When I walked into my parents' lake house that Sunday afternoon, the smell of cinnamon rolls and brewed coffee hit me first. For a terrifying moment, I thought I had the wrong day. Everything looked so normal. My mother sat on the couch with a crossword puzzle. Nathan and my father were playing Scrabble. Laughter floated between them. "Sophie?" I asked, stepping inside without knocking. They looked up as if I'd walked in on brunch uninvited. "Emily," my mother said, startled. "You weren't due until tonight." "I've been calling since Friday," I snapped. "Texting, emailing, no one responded. Where is my daughter?" Nathan stretched, cool as ever. "Still resting. She took a little spill yesterday on the trail. No big deal. Probably just sore." I didn't wait. I shoved past them and ran down the hall to the guest room. The door creaked open slowly. What I saw inside will live in my nightmares forever. Sophie lay curled up on the bed, her face pale and streaked with dried tears. Her right leg was swollen beyond recognition, bruises climbing from ankle to thigh. The foot twisted at an unnatural angle, wrapped in nothing but a towel and 2 ice packs now warm and soggy. "Mom," she whispered when she saw me. Her voice cracked. "You came." I was at her side in an instant. "What happened, baby? Who did this to you?" Through sobs, Sophie told me everything. The hike, the slippery rocks near the waterfall, the crack, the scream. Nathan kneeling beside her, her gasping, "It's broken!" My father checking his watch. Dinner plans with the Hendersons. Jason saying, "Let's see how she does walking on it." And they made her walk. 3 miles. On a broken leg. With no phone, no help. No pain meds except 2 ibuprofen tablets. "I kept asking to stop," Sophie said. "They wouldn't let me. Grandpa said we were already behind schedule. Uncle Nathan said it was probably just a sprain. Grandma told me to stop crying and focus on the trees." By the time they reached the house, she was dragging her leg behind her, barely conscious. And then? "They left for dinner," Sophie whispered. "They dressed up and just left. Said they'd be back soon. I couldn't call you. The landline didn't work. My phone was still with Grandma." My hands were trembling as I touched her forehead, still warm. I turned as my family filed into the doorway behind me. "You made her walk on a broken leg," I said, voice low. "Then you left her here, alone?" "We gave her ice and pillows," my mother offered weakly. Nathan shrugged. "It looked minor. Hairline at worst. She was walking, wasn't she? She was dragging herself." "It wasn't like she was screaming the whole way," Howard added. "Children dramatize." I stood slowly, heart pounding in my ears. "She needs to go to the ER. Now." "You're overreacting," my father scoffed. "If you'd just let me examine—" "No," I held up a hand. "You've done enough." I scooped Sophie into my arms. She cried out, clutching my shoulder. "We'll come with you," Miriam said quickly. "You might need help." "No, you've helped enough." The drive to the nearest hospital felt endless. Every bump in the road sent Sophie whimpering. I called ahead, demanding they be ready. When we arrived, the ER staff took one look at her leg and rushed her back for x-rays and immediate pain control. Dr. Rivera came into the waiting room 20 minutes later. "It's a displaced tibial shaft fracture," she said gravely. "The bone has shifted. It requires emergency surgery. Had it been treated earlier, we might have used a cast. But walking on it has caused soft tissue damage and increased the risk of long-term complications." I nodded, barely able to speak. Sophie needed surgery. titanium rods, screws, weeks on crutches, physical therapy. And for what? So my family wouldn't miss a dinner with old friends? As Sophie was prepped for surgery, I sat beside her bed. Her eyes fluttered open. Will it hurt? You'll be asleep during it, I said softly, stroking her hair. And I'll be right here when you wake up. She nodded weakly. Grandpa said I was being dramatic. Uncle Nathan said I'd be fine. Tears stung my eyes. They were wrong, sweetheart. I believe you. I always will. An hour later, my family showed up at the hospital. I didn't let them near her. In the hallway, Nathan cornered me. You're blowing this out of proportion. Am I? I snapped. You're an orthopedic surgeon and you let a 12-year-old walk on a displaced fracture. Because you had dinner plans? I made a judgment call. Good. Here's mine. I stepped closer, voice cold. You don't speak to me or my daughter again without going through my lawyer first. Nathan's face froze. That's unnecessary. I smiled. That's me being generous. If you've ever been blamed for demanding basic decency, type 2. When the envelope from the school district landed on my desk that morning, I expected updates on Sophie's remote assignments. Instead, inside was a copy of a voicemail, one my mother had left with the school secretary. It was desperate, crooning, performed. Please, just let me talk to my granddaughter. I don't know what Emily told you, but we love Sophie. We took care of her. This whole thing has been twisted. We're her family. I sat there shaking. Not because of what she said, I'd long stopped expecting truth from her, but because she used my workplace to get to us. Again. Just like the time they mailed a birthday card to the front office. Just like the time Nathan tried to bump into Sophie at her soccer game, all while still refusing to apologize. My fingers clenched around the paper. That was the moment I knew. It had to end. No more blurred lines. No more, maybe they'll change. No more polite silence in exchange for peace that never came. That night, I sat at our kitchen table after Sophie fell asleep, her casted leg resting on pillows, signed by friends who did care. I opened my laptop, pulled up the folder titled Grace Recovery, and began drafting the document that would end it all. It wasn't emotional, not anymore. It was a record, a ledger, a boundary. To Harold and Miriam Carson, I wrote, "This letter serves as formal notice of the termination of our relationship, effective immediately." I attached the x-rays, clearly marked. I cited the ER diagnosis, the surgery, the projected 6-month recovery time. I highlighted phrases like displaced tibial shaft fracture, exacerbated by weight-bearing activity, and delayed treatment contributing to prolonged healing. I copied our attorney, Patricia Evans, on the email. I knew they'd try to spin it, twist it, or make themselves the victims again. But this time I had proof and boundaries. For Nathan, I wrote a separate letter. As a licensed orthopedic surgeon, your actions not only failed Sophie medically, they violated the ethical standards of your profession. Your judgment, or lack thereof, directly contributed to her trauma. Please do not attempt to contact either of us again. All further communication must go through legal counsel. I changed our phone numbers, locked down Sophie's school records, made sure her coaches and teachers knew who not to let near her. And then I waited. The responses came quickly, as expected. First, a letter from my father's lawyer implying I was mentally unstable, manipulating Sophie, and intentionally alienating family. Then, an email from Nathan, laced with legal threats and character assassinations. You're damaging my reputation. Your exaggerations could affect my medical license. And finally, a voicemail from Miriam. Tearful, measured, completely devoid of responsibility. I just want us to go back to how things were. Can't we move past this? Not one word of apology. Not a single acknowledgement of what they'd done. Patricia handled it all like clockwork. She sent them certified copies of Sophie's surgical report, statements from both Dr. Rivera and the pediatric orthopedic surgeon, and a cease and desist warning. After that, they went quiet. But the damage lingered. Sophie's nightmares lessened but didn't vanish. Certain sounds, gravel under tires, footsteps outside her door, still made her flinch. One day, she found a card from Grandma in our mailbox and handed it to me without opening it. They still don't get it, do they? No, I said gently. They don't. At school, Dana's little sabotage attempt finally unraveled. A district IT audit found that she had accessed and tried to leak curriculum materials using my login, likely to fuel the HR complaint. She was suspended, then quietly let go. I wasn't proud to feel vindicated. But I felt clear, like a fog had lifted. And then came the call from HR. We've reviewed everything. The allegations were unsubstantiated. We're officially recommending you for the department chair position. It was done. One Saturday, as Sophie practiced walking across our living room in her boot, no crutches, just determination, she looked up at me. Mom, do you think we'll ever talk to them again? I paused. I don't know, honey. Maybe someday, but only if they truly understand what they did and take responsibility. She thought about it. I'm not mad all the time anymore, but I don't miss them like I thought I would. I nodded. That's not a bad thing. That's healing. Later that evening, I placed the final certified letter into the mailbox, watched the red flag rise. It was quiet. No grand gestures, no dramatic showdowns. But in that stillness, I heard the softest, strongest voice inside me say, "You did the right thing." If you've ever had to walk away from family to protect yourself or someone you love, type 3.